Doom Eternal is a very simple game. You move and shoot and you don't stop until everything in a 100-yard radius of you is dead, and sometimes you even do both at the same time. Actually, that's the only way you should play the game, because the moment you stop moving, you will get smacked. A lot. What makes Doom Eternal such an interesting and fun game comes from how the game constantly adds to that easy formula. So I played the 2016 reboot and enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't was the ending, and that's only because Halo 2 has scarred me for life when it comes to cliffhangers in games.
Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing on that ship?
Sir.
I have no idea!
If you've played Doom 2016, this is more of the same to a point. The same mechanics are there. Again, it's literally just running and shooting, but they've added a whole lot of new things to make killing the demonic horde all the more satisfying. Let's start with the movement options, because I think that's what really separates the two games from each other. So now, you can dash around the map, swing from hard bones protruding from just the most disgusting level design I've ever seen, and firmly grasp at, again, just the most disgusting level design this side of AAA gaming. But the beauty of the game obviously doesn't come from the scenery, although id Software definitely did add way more diversity, and some of the surrounding areas do look particularly breathtaking. But then you remember that demons have taken over the world for what seems like it has to be years, but the wiki says that this game takes place only 8 months after Doom 2016, and when we do get story beats, we learn more about the Doom Slayer's background, and he talks like twice, and even for a new fan, it was very jarring. And then they keep putting characters in the game who talk about the Doom Slayer because they know him, but like, who are you, sir? Why are you so sad? Oh, I have to read some lore notes in my shooty boom boom game?
Well, me?
Oh. That's actually probably my biggest problem with the game, the story. Oh, you're talking about the story in a game where you spend the entirety just shooting things, punching things, snapping an unholy amount of limbs, and then jamming those limbs into other limbs. That's what you decided to focus on, huh? Well, considering that I'm having this conversation with myself, yes it is. But my fractured psyche actually brings up an important point. This game is a game that lives and dies by its gameplay, so let's just get back to that. I already talked about the movement being changed, but there's also way more ways to kill demons once you've closed the distance. Your suit comes with grenades and a flamethrower now, so you can either serve the demons up as chunks or flambe. When it comes to guns, there's a lot and they're big. They got rid of the pistol though, which is kinda sad. It was so cute. There's assault rifles, bullet-filled and McDonald's Sprite-filled, shotguns, a minigun, whatever this thing is, and
the Crucible, the scourge of demonkind.
Oh my god, what was that? Okay, so like I was saying, you get all kinds of weapons.
A chainsaw that lets you slice through the demon horde.
Jesus Christ, what is that? Sounds like someone who swallowed a bass guitar.
I am the culmination of souls, orphaned from hell, used by the Doomslayer and his compatriots.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to explain the game I played this month and say what I liked and disliked about it.
One of those month in reviews. I have heard tale of your excursions.
You've heard of me?
Why yes, in hell your videos play on repeat for their torment without end.
Alright, just let me do my video, please.
I cannot wait to see what torturous ideas and subpar jokes you will force into this time frame.
As I was saying, there's a lot of different weapons and ways you can kill enemies in this game, but they're all pretty straightforward if you've ever played a first-person shooter before. What makes Doom Eternal special is how clean everything is. I mean, it's super gross, don't get me wrong. I cannot explain that enough, but it plays so clean. There's a much bigger focus on the game being arcadey, and I think that the moment-to-moment gameplay is way more engaging because of it. However, it does also bring up something that sets it apart from the reboot in a negative way. So in Doom 2016, when you found a gun or a weapon, it was by picking it up from a dead body, or you would just see its actual model and go pick it up. In this one, you just see these green pickups, and the only gun that you actually get to see is the BFG, which is great, but it just feels, I don't know, it just kind of feels less grounded. I mean, this is the game where you can take a demon's gun arm, point it in its mouth, and pop it off like it's a party popper. But Doom, only some of the time, felt more connected in the world, and part of that was the way you pick things up, but also in the way levels work. Doom Eternal brings with it a new way that levels work, and a new place that the Doom Slayer calls home. The Fortress of Doom, which as a massive fan of the best Marvel villain, Double D himself, I love the name. How it works, that's a different story. So it's cool to be able to walk around and see collectibles you picked up, unlock new things, and some third thing, I guess, but it's nothing more than a cool little menu. There's nothing about the fortress that is gained that couldn't just be done with a menu. And after watching a design doc video specifically about that, check him out, he's dope, I really see his point about how these need to have some connectivity with the game and story, or else it feels off. There's this quote in the game that I really like about the Doomslayer being this uncompromising being of violence, and for the most part, I think this works for the game as a whole, and with the game's almost 100% focus on the gameplay, I'd say that's pretty spot on.
But what of the glorious violence that you can inflict on the demonic horde?
Yeah, that's cool, and the gameplay is definitely solid enough to carry the game. I just think that it drops the ball in ways that could have made the game better. I think the linear but constant world of the first Doom was great because it felt like a seamless journey. Because of the fortress, now the levels are completely separate from each other, and while you do see way more diverse locales because of it instead of just orangey brown dirt and some vague factory looking places, I'm not sure if Disgusting Bloody Flesh Room number 1 and Disgusting Bloody Flesh Room number 2 really make up for that. I do love seeing the big landscapes off in the distance though, a real scenic vision. Love to just drink it in.
Now that's refreshing.
But let me talk about some things that I did like before the demon sword comes back.
I was forged to quell the scourge, not to buy them.
Okay bro, sorry.
You may proceed.
I do really enjoy the variety of enemy types in this game. There's 4 classes: ambient, fodder, heavy, and super heavy. The super heavy category is filled with bosses that turn into mini bosses after you fight them once, and I think that makes the combat areas have a nice progression of difficulty, even though there is a massive difficulty spike starting in like the last 3 or 4 levels that come out of nowhere. And one of the worst bosses turned super heavy, the Marauders, are the worst enemies in the entire game, because their entire gimmick is that you have to wait to be able to actually hit them, which I feel like in a Doom game sucks. Something else that bothers me about the game—
You are becoming negative again.
Okay. I thought that the actual final bosses all added something interesting, and while the final boss is kinda lacking, you do get to just go crazy with every big weapon the game has to offer, so that's cool. I really liked the little hologram lady that shit-talked the Doomslayer the entire game and how she's a propaganda machine for the UAC. That was a cool little thing I liked too.
Give all of your blood.
Oh, okay, goddamn.
Listen, the game is fun. There's a lot of complexity when you get good enough at the game, and it becomes this ballet of blood and gore.
Watching the demonic horde fall underneath the boot of the Slayer, seeing them quake at his fervor, knowing that he will be the executioner, titillates the mind.
Okay, I mean, sure, I wasn't trying to say I don't know all that, but yeah, okay, that's true. Like I said, this game lives and dies by its gameplay because there is nothing else for you to latch on to. The story is as bare as can be. Doom Guy doesn't have any motivation outside of his intense need to murder the living and morally impaired. No other character matters, even in the slightest. They try to make you understand why the big bad does what she does, but to Doom Guy, and by extension the player, it doesn't matter. She's in the way and has gotta go. I guess the quote about Doom being uncompromising was actually true. It is. Gameplay is what gets you in the seat, and the only thing worth staying to. I do like the little toy animations though.
Ah, yes. Look at the opposable limbs. What a joy.
As I was saying, there's little things that do expand the game, but do you really care about fighting collectibles?
Yes.
Alright bro, glad you enjoy the game that you're a part of.
Moving on!
Even things like progression are way more streamlined. In Eternal, you can find all the upgrades you will ever need on the main paths, or like right next to where you need to go. There's no reason to use these batteries to get more upgrades because you'll have more than enough just by playing the game. And I don't even really understand the point of the costumes when you only see them in cutscenes and the main screen, so like, what's really the point? I get that a lot of it does tie into the multiplayer, but I'm cool on that. Played a few matches, seems interesting, but it's also just the exact same gameplay. I just don't care that much. I don't even have that many notes about the game. It's just kind of what you see is what you get. I had my fun for the most part, but again, this isn't an experience that I can fully commit to suggesting. This is fully based on if this type of game appeals to you, and for me, I could take it or leave it. Doom Eternal is a very simple game, and while its simplicity allows it to be played by a wider audience, I'm not sure it gives enough to keep that audience engaged. Just from gameplay, I think id Software killed it, and if any of the gameplay shown is interesting to you, then definitely check it out, but if it hasn't, there's nothing really about this game that'll hook you. Pun intended, I'm sorry. I'm interested to see where the franchise is gonna go, since you'd think this would be the end, since Doom Guy blew up like 3 different dimensions in this game, and there's only 40% of the human population left, but hey, if the super shotgun is involved, I'll be a little interested. Anything you wanna say, Crucible?
Well, I respect your opinion enough to respectfully disagree without being an asshole about it.
Wow, thanks. That means a lot from you.
I may be a sword created from condensed hell energy, but even I have manners.
Well, that's all I got for this game. Let me know if you think that Doom Eternal is actually a treasure trove of story that I completely missed. Tune in next month for when I review Cricket 19. And I'm not actually doing that. I might do some things on this channel that I don't really want to, but playing that isn't gonna be one of them. But drop a comment, mayhaps like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.